Hey guys, Jake here. I'm back. Started a new channel and I'm gonna start posting content that's HVAC related, maybe some stuff that I'm just interested in. But I'm entering my kind of slow season now. Calls have slowed down. I've only had a few service related calls so far this month as far as breakdowns go. I'm heading over to an existing customer's place. It's in a 4-unit apartment building, and they had a tenant move out and they want me to come in and maintenance the unit. So that's what this one's going to be. It's an older R22 ream unit. Sorry, I'm a little congested here. Allergies are kicking up like a son of a gun right now. I feel fine, but I'm congested in my throat and my face feels like inflamed and clogged, you know. But I'm going over to do a maintenance on this. I've done videos in the past on my old channel here. Every spring, this customer, they do a maintenance with me. So, you know, they want me to go ahead and do a maintenance, even though I did one, I guess it was back in like April or May of this year. So I'm going to go over there and see what I can get into. Should be pretty routine. Nothing too exciting, but I'll show you how I do a heat pump maintenance. Alright, so this is the one we're doing here. This is unit number D. And it's not in terrible shape. Big old daddy long leg on there. Got some leaves down in it. A little bit of growth on it. These are on the north side of the building, so it hardly ever sees any sun. We're also up in the mountains in Unicoi County. This is behind me here is the Cherokee National Forest. So it's a real remote location. So I'm going to go ahead and hook up probes to this. I always like to test in on a system first and see how it's doing, see if I see anything egregious on it that I need to address or let the homeowner or customer know about. So we'll just go ahead and hook up to it, fire the system, let it run for a little while, and see how it's doing, and then we'll take off the top, check the capacitor, of course pull the disconnect, check the contactor coil, scrub the whole unit down, wash through the coil. I'll take the sides off of it and wax it, when I put it back together and stuff. I like to do a wax as well. So let's get started. Alright, so I fired it up, took an inrush on the compressor, got a 75 amps at startup. Not sure if you can see that. There you go, that's probably better. Lock rotor is 84, so it's starting to chooch up. You can tell this thing, when it was first installed, this thing was running really, really hot. These systems are oversized for the space. I did not install these. Whoever installed these, I know who did it, but I'm not going to mention any names. They were overcharged, vastly overcharged, and the ductwork is undersized for these units. But they are now at 19 years old and still kicking. I've tried to dial it in best I can. You can tell we're starting to come up now on our pressures here. Got 65 on the low side, 202 on the high side here. It's R22, of course. It's about 78 degrees outside, 77.5, 78. Starting to discharge some warmer air out the top, 92 coming out the top. So I'm just going to let this thing run 15 or 20 minutes or so. I'm going to do some amp draws on the compressor. Actually, let's go ahead and do that now. Take a draw on the compressor here. And we're pulling 12.7 amps on the compressor. Running load amps is 14.7. This looks like it's going to come down a little bit. 12.6, 12.7. Here's the fan, 0.8 amps. The fan load amps is 0.9, so we're getting on the higher side of that, 0.7, 0.8 amps. Alright, so we're getting about a 16.2 degree split between return and supply, 16.3. Getting a little better. Been running a while now. It's probably about the best we're going to get. Alright, so we're running about a 65 on the suction side, 9 degrees of superheat, 37 degree vapor saturation, 207 on the head. I really can't expect much more from this unit because it is, like I said, oversized. It's a 2.5 ton unit on a 1.5 tons of ductwork. I got it dialed in about the best I could doing these maintenances year after year. So let's see, the split's still about the same, 16.3. Alright, I shut the unit down at the thermostat, put it to off position, killed the breaker inside, or the disconnect. Just gonna test voltage, make sure I don't have anything here before I get zapped. Alright, I'm good. Let's go ahead and test this contactor coil here. Stuff that right there. I want to see what the resistance is. This is a single pole contactor, so I'd expect about 15 ohms of resistance. Anything over 20 or under 10, I'm going to recommend a replacement on it. So we're at 17.9 ohms of resistance there, so that's perfectly okay. We'll go ahead and put that back on. Make sure it's tight. Alright, so the capacitor here, make sure this thing is not going to pop me here. We'll test the fan side. This is a 35.3. I wrote it right here on the inside of the panel. This is actually one of the last Cheese Wang Titan Pros that I had here. Looks like I put it in April of 2023. So we'll test the fan side here first. And I should have 3 microfarads here on this thing. Go common to fan. And we got 3 microfarads. Nice. I always like to test, tighten these up before I put them back on. Just pinch the stake on. Sometimes you don't have to. It's just good practice. Yeah, that way they go on nice and tight. Go ahead and check the Herm side next here. Now this should be a 35, so go ahead and see what this one's doing. Wouldn't surprise me to have this thing low, being that it's a Titan Pro and 2 years old. Hopefully it's okay. So it has lost some. It's 34.2 microfarads here, 34.2. That's still testing good though. Alright, went ahead and got this thing taken apart. I put the fan terminal wire, the brown, back on fan on the dual run cap and tighten it. I didn't really need to do that, but I had to take it off anyways. But went ahead and got this thing taken apart, sides and everything. 3,000 screws later, you know. But you can see here we got a little debris in it. I always like to get the big debris out first. I put some gloves on, take the debris out before I spray it with water. That way it's easier for me to just get it out, or I can use a shop vac or something like that. I'll go ahead and dry clean all the cobwebs out of this thing with my condenser whisk and get that thing cleaned out. All this debris on the coil here, I'll hit that with my dry brush, wipe down on that, get that all off of there, and then I'm going to spray it with water only, no cleaner, and I'm going to go from the inside out all the way around. Alright, so I dry cleaned the coil here and went ahead and put a little bit of cleaner in this thing. I just use a real simple all-purpose organic cleaner. I used to use just like a Gain or something like that, or Mr. Clean, but you have people that will actually complain. They're like, oh, I'm real sensitive to smells. And you know, you walk in their house and they got like 40 piles of cat crap in the litter box and it smells like a giant turd in their house, yet they're worried about the smell of a cleaner, you know, when you wipe down the air handler. Because I also wipe down the air handler with an all-purpose cleaner as well. So I started using an organic cleaner. It's like a lemon, lemongrass, stuff like that in it. And you know, that way if someone asks like, oh, I'm real sensitive to smell, well, this is just an organic cleaner. It's not anything with chemicals in it, you know. It's just an essential oil cleaner, you know. So that's what I use even outside if I'm trying to clean something. I just use an organic cleaner on it. I don't know why people, I figure over the years, if they can complain about something, they definitely will. Some people aren't like that, but you know, you always get them special people. And I just, you know, I hate dealing with that, so I just went to only an organic cleaner for you know, wiping units down and stuff like that. Alright, so I got the coil washed out here. I'm just gonna, I went ahead and sprayed it with some spray wax. What I'm using right now is the Turtle Wax Wax and Dry. It's a spray wax. You can put it on wet and you know, dry it. I'm just wiping this thing down now. This thing's pretty stained up. I'd have to use a more heavy duty cleaner for sure if I wanted to try to get some of those spots out. I'm gonna go ahead and wring this thing out. I like to use microfiber rags whenever I'm wiping them down and waxing them. Seems to do a better job. I just kind of wax it up like this and buff this thing in here. I went ahead and put some over here on the compressor case and on this side as well. I'll wipe that down as well. But yeah, that story I told you about people complaining, I actually had that happen this year. I was at this guy's house, and I don't even know how many cats the guy had, but it stunk in his house, man. I could barely breathe. And I was just cleaning up my little bit of mess, and I brought in my organic cleaner. He's like, what is that? Is that a degreaser or like a heavy duty cleaner? I'm very sensitive to smell. I'm like, this guy's got to be kidding me. It smells like cat crap in his house and rat semen, and he's worried about some cleaner, you know? I felt like saying, man, you need to keep this bottle and give your whole house a douche with this stuff, you know, because it was horrible in there. But, you know, I just kept my mouth shut, and I was like, oh no, this is, you know, an organic cleaner. It's the stuff you got to deal with, you know, in the residential market. You deal with a lot of different customers, a lot of different personalities. You just got to learn to adapt to it, you know, and be nice. Kill them with kindness. It always works better than being a jerk, you know. But yeah, it smelled bad in there, really bad. That looks a lot better. I'm gonna go ahead and get this side. Then I'm gonna get this thing put back together. All right, so I just got done scrubbing this down, put some cleaner on it, scrubbed it with my long handle brush there, get all the green stuff knocked off of it, all the debris. Same with this one here. Those sides looking a lot better. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing put on now. I got the compressor and that whole area wiped down with the wax and dry and a microfiber. So put this back in. Now with these ream roods, these older ones, I like to put in the 2 front screws first. So I'll wrap it around and lift up on the front, put in a screw or 2, and there's 2 in the front. If the screws are still there, you can also do it in the back, so you can wrap it around and there's one that goes on each side. Just depends on what you got. I normally like to add screws if they're missing. I don't like to leave screws out. These top ones are all stripped on this, so I had to go to 5/16 on these after the last maintenance. But so yeah, I'll either normally start with the 2 fronts and then work my way to the back and then get the 3 on the side, each side. Just depends, but this seems to be a little easier to get either those 2 fronts or the 2 backs. Okay, this is what the unit looks like all put back together with some turtle wax ice. I mean, not the ice, the turtle wax wax and dry. That's what I've been using. I haven't been able to find the turtle wax ice anymore. I'm not sure if they discontinued it or not. I think they did. But it looks pretty nice, nice and waxed, nice and clean. I went ahead and hit the whip with some with the microfiber and the wax as well. These things like to discolor. They get really dirty, especially here on the north side. You can see what it does to the walls and the pad here. I also wiped down the disconnect with the wax, and I always treat my disconnect pullouts with some ox guard. That way it slides in and out easier, doesn't get stuck or try to fuse in there, you know, less likely to arc when you put it in and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the disconnect in. I have the cover back on, but not the screws for the door. I still got to test out on this thing, so when I test out, I'll hook my probes up. I'm gonna go ahead and put my disconnect in. That way when I'm done with the indoor unit, I can fire it at the thermostat, and this thing will fire and get some run time on it before I hook my probes up, so I don't have to sit around quite as long. Okay, so I'm hooked up on the drain line. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my Milwaukee shop vac, pull a vacuum on the drain, try to get out anything that's in there. And I just, you know, basically all I do is get a good shop vac going on it, and then I like to flush it with some cleaner and then some clean water. So this drain line actually holds some water, and you can see some of this stuff that it pulled out, zoogly or whatever you want to call it. It's funky. So I went ahead and pulled the vac on it, got this out, a couple little pieces of debris down in there too, you can see little chunks. So I'm going to dump this, and then we'll flush it with some cleaner and some clean water. We'll run the shop vac on it again, and then I'll prime the trap before I start it up to run a test on it. Alright, so here's the indoor unit. Guy who installed this put it right against the flipping wall here, and loved duckboard. So I'm going to use my, let's see here, use this. Comes with those easy traps, you can buy them separate. I'll stuff that down this cap comes off, brush out the trap here, and then I also like to use these too. that doesn't go quite deep enough, I'll take me a 36-inch or a 48-inch panduit strap, snake it with that, and then I'll pour the cleaner down the drain. I use a gallon of foaming drain cleaner, little concoction I came up with, and then I'll run about 1.5 gallons to 1 3/4 gallons of water behind it, and then I'll just put the vac on, suck it again, and then prime the trap with the rest of the water. First though, before I do that, I'm actually, since this coil is accessible, I'm going to go ahead and just take a look at it and make sure it's okay. It's a 20 by 25 return. I think that's a T4 or T6. I put that on there, the old thermostat stopped working. The old duckboard special return plenum here. Got it framed up with some 1x2s, looks like. That is some itchy stuff right there. Holy smokes. Coil actually looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Not bad at all. I'm gonna go ahead and just hit it. I mixed up some light green, the green coil cleaner, hvac stuff. I'm just gonna hit it real light with that. Scrub the bottom of the black part of the pan there, get some of that debris off of it. I don't normally do that with my maintenance, but I'll do that here. It's just real light, and then I'll hit it with some clean water after. I don't like leaving it on the coil, especially with an old system like this. This thing being 19 years old, and it's just got it in a pump sprayer. Got about 1/2 gallon in there. I'll hit it with that, and then I'll hit it with some clean water right after, and then I'll go ahead and do the drain. All right, I ran the 1/2 gallon of the green coil cleaner on it, and then hit it with a gallon of water. Wipe down the bottom of the pan. That's insulation on the bottom, like an Armaflex material to keep it from sweating. I went ahead and got that wiped down. Looks a lot better. A lot better. I always like to rinse that stuff off. I don't like leaving it on there. Run some water on it. Sometimes I'll run 2 gallons through it. Since I only used 1/2 gallon, it was pretty weak because it really didn't need it. I just ran a full gallon through my pump sprayer. Right, let's see if we get anything back out of this thing. I actually ran this drain right here. Originally it didn't have a clean out for the trap here, and installed this CS1 float switch because it didn't have any float switches, and I put 45s in the vent on it. So when you pull a vacuum outside, if you want to get this done, you just gotta pop that off and put a cap on this, and then it'll pull through all the way through this trap. And this normally has a cap, it's up there, and it'll pull through the whole thing. So that's why I left this off, but I put a 90 on them, the vents, because I don't want debris falling down in it, you know. But I did suggest that we put a WS1 wet switch in this plenum, or down here, even right here, and you know, break R to the thermostat so that if it detects any water, it'll shut the system down. But I thought about dropping one down in that plenum down there, and then running up and tying into the thermostat wires and put it in series with this CS1. Because this is the only protection it has right now, so it's a little scary. All right, let's see what we got coming back out. See, this thing only gets to right in here. Sometimes these things will splash you. Grab my towel here. Actually, not bad at all. Got a little bit of rust in there. Yeah, really not bad. I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with the panduit strap. Alright, so one of the reasons also I put a vent on this, and it's in a mechanical closet, is because underneath this floor here it's sagging, and they can't get access to those pipes. There's plumbing in the way. It really needs to be strapped, so they're supposed to be going and cutting an access hole in the apartment down below, and then they're gonna strap that pipe up. But that's something that will help prevent, if you do have a double trap, if you vent it after your trap, if it's trapped again, if it sags, it'll still drain good. So I already got about half this gallon poured in. I kind of like to pour it in. You can hear it just taking all of it, flowing good, as fast as I can pour it. I'm getting a good flush. You can hear that thing venting. And now I'm gonna let that sit a minute or two, and then I'll hit it with the rest of this, and then we'll run clean water down through it. All right, so you can see this thing's been running out there. This is supposed to be fixed here. You can see a 90s there actually, but if you look really closely, the 90 kind of angles at a slight uphill right here. So that's supposed to be changed out to a 45 and then come across. They're supposed to do that. I've been supposed to have done it for years now, but it hadn't been done. And I noticed that a long time ago. But now I'm going to go ahead and put my shot vac on this. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, I also like to have that panduit strap. It's hard to get that brush into the actual coil, but I like to open up the coil door or go through the clean out and pour a little of that cleaner down through the pan. And then also, if I can't do that, if there's like a block there, like one of them sheets, sometimes what I'll do is just snake through there, like the little panduit strap, run that through there and stuff, and make sure that I don't have any obstructions there, because just because your trap doesn't have an obstruction doesn't mean that your exit of your drain isn't going to be plugged up, you know. I'm going to turn this on and we'll see what we get here. I'm going to give it a suck, and I've got about 1/4 gallon to go ahead and reprime the trap. I got the vent right now capped, and then took the 90 off of it, put a cap on it, and then put a cap on the clean out for the P-trap. So when I pull this vacuum, it's going to pull through the whole line, through the trap, and all the way into the coil. So I sucked the P-trap clear as well as the drain line, and you can see this is more water than what's in the P-trap. So what we actually have is, like I said, underneath the floor there where the drain goes, it's got a sag, but look how much cleaner that water is. There's still a little bit of residual cleaner in there. Just got a couple little things in, but no more of that zoogly or whatever you want to call it, the slime. No more big chunks. So I'm pretty confident that got a little bit of rust in there. See that? I'm confident that coil, that line, the drain line from the coil is clear. So now we're going to prime that trap, check the capacitor, wipe down that indoor unit, and test out on this machine and make sure that it's running properly. Okay, I got my drain back together, put my 90 back on, took the cap off of it, threw the cap back in my bag, and went ahead and checked the electrical connections out in here. Everything looked okay. Looks like I replaced the blower run capacitor. I checked it, tested at 10 microfarads, but looks like I just did it in May of 2024. You gotta love the handwriting there, sideways, that's high quality. But yeah, that tested good. Fan speed is in high, which it definitely needs to be. This unit is way too big for the ductwork, and with the static pressure, the PSC motor actually slowed down. So we're trying to push as much air as we can through ductwork that's too tight. The one thing I will bring up again, and I've mentioned this several times, these Rheem Rude units, they don't have a fuse, an inline fuse in the transformer on the low voltage side. So actually on the downstairs unit here, one of the downstairs units, we had a shorted contactor coil, and it took out the transformer. So when I replaced the transformer, I put in a low voltage fuse on the hot side, low voltage hot side. So I always use these little fuse holders. I buy them over at Finco Supply here. They're out in Gray now. They used to be in Johnson City. But they have 10 AWG wire, which is really big, but they got these little black fuse holders, and it just takes the ATC style fuse, and I think I used just a 3-amp fuse on it, and put it on the hot side to help protect the transformer. So it's something that if you're on these units, you can recommend to the customer, hey, to prevent further damage, you know, in the future, if you have a low voltage short situation, let's put a fuse in here, an inline fuse, and help protect that transformer from getting fried. Because that fuse being in line there on the hot wire will definitely protect that transformer. So you just find out which side is your hot side, and then separate the one line that leads out of it, put the fuse in, and just connect the fuse in series with the other wires, and help protect your transformer. So it's a nice upgrade you can do to systems that don't use, you know, a typical blower board, and are using just a relay. You know, you can put a fuse in and help save the customer some money in the future. Alrighty, well, I'm going to go ahead and get this buttoned up. I went ahead and wiped down the unit. Can't really tell because it's covered in paint splatter. But once I put the door on here, I'll go ahead and wipe the door down again, the one that I touched. And then I already got the whip and the disconnect wiped down. And of course I said I checked the electrical circuits. I'm going to wipe down up there. When I get this light off, I'm going to hit that bulb. It's kind of dirty up there. knock the dust off of it. But then we're going to go ahead and fire this system up and do a test out. If I don't show that process, it's because I didn't find anything. This video is already going to be pretty long, and it's only a maintenance, you know, and I really didn't find anything wrong on this, just needed a cleaning. So I'll do an outro though, even if I don't find anything on the test out. But it's really important after you're done with the maintenance, always do a test out. Check your temperature split, check your pressures, check your superheat subcooling, and you know, make sure the system's operating well after you touch it. You know, it's one mistake you make, and if you have to go back for free, or if you work for somebody, they're going to be pretty upset with you. So always check the system before you leave, make sure it's working. Alright, well, I didn't record the test out procedure there where I hook probes up and you know, check the system, check the amp draws and stuff like that. My cousin came over and was talking with me, so I was talking to him, didn't record anymore. But everything looked okay, about as good as it can be. Typically that unit runs low superheat because it's not moving enough air. You know, 7, 8, 9 degrees is about the best it does. Normally it's running lower than that, depending on, of course, the conditions. Even if it's calling that it needs more superheat, it's not going to do it. It's just you know, a 2.5 ton unit on a 1.5 tons of ductwork, which is crazy. The one saving grace for it is the 20 by 25 return that it sits on top of. So it's got plenty of return capacity, it's just the supply is super restricted. So it is what it is. When those get wrecked and finally die, we'll put in a 1.5 ton system in place of those. And that one also has a smaller suction line. I think it calls for a 3/4 and it's only 5/8, and it's enlarged to a 3/4 right before it goes into the service valve. So that's not helping it either, you know. So that's what we got going on over there. Nope. So I don't know where I left off. My cousin, another one I got like 40 something just on my dad's side of the family, pulled in with her husband, and she's pregnant, so I wanted to say hi to him. And I hadn't seen him in a while, so it's nice to say hi to him. But yeah, so that system's, you know, been doomed for failure since the install. But I was able to you know, make it last longer. When I first hooked up to that thing years and years ago, it had the way overcharged. I guess the guy didn't do superheat subcooling and was just trying to force up the suction pressure to get a better coil temperature, and had overcharged the living piss out of the thing, and the compressor was sweating like a devil. I mean, it was just horrible shape. So years and years back I corrected that. Didn't even have filter dryers on it, you know, so it was in pretty rough shape. But got it dialed in best I can for what the conditions are there. Like I said, they're 19 years old, so they're doing pretty well for how poorly they're set up. Anyways, I'm rambling. Just want to say thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I know this won't be the most exciting video in the world. There's really not a whole lot to it. I don't think I'm some kind of super tech or anything like that. I'm nothing special. I don't have some big opinion of myself out here. I don't think I'm all high and mighty. Just figure I could share some stuff, maybe do some entertainment. Most people here on YouTube are pretty cool. There are some real twats out there that I don't really care for. You know, people make nasty comments and are out to kind of put people down. I'm not into that. I'm not out to have enemies. I don't want to have problems with people. I really just want to be left alone and be able to do my thing, you know. So just want to say thanks for watching. I appreciate it.